Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to Classroom to Corporate Connections. I'm excited to share my journey from classroom to corporate and build connections to help you succeed.
Hey, Mom, what are you up to? You're recording a podcast.
This is Season 2, Episode 1, New Year, New Everything. And I am your host, Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm a white woman with short blonde hair, blue eyes, and I wear blue glasses today. Last year, if you followed along on my podcast journey, I really tried to do the video podcast gig and record the video, loads of fun, but honestly, it was a lot more work to get it published and out there. And while I loved doing it, I was not able to follow through and get out as many podcasts as I wanted to in my first year of this podcast. So it's 2024. I'm taking a step back and I'm recording how I like to, just the audio. And you might have noticed in the intro, I gave my fearless sidekicks, the twins, a role this time. They're my intro and my exit to the podcast. So I hope that you enjoy the podcast and stick around for some more episodes in 2024. So I'm just going to be honest with you right now. I really had no idea what to call this podcast episode. So that's why the title is kind of weird. Don't get me wrong. I'm certainly not out of ideas already. It's like I've got so many ideas swirling around in my head that I just don't know which one to start with. So it kind of came out like, so new year, new, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to talk about? Everything. Sounded good. This is seriously going to be a year of a lot of new stuff. Lots of new. It has to, at least for me. I don't know about the rest of you. The past few years, like COVID, pandemic, pre-pandemic, post-pandemic, are we still in a pandemic? I don't really know. It's been a blur. 2023 can crawl under a rock and hide forever, and I won't miss it. But this year, 2024, I am going to live up to my word for the year, and that is transform. Do you ever pick a word for the year? I know some people do New Year's resolutions. I gave those up a long time ago because I am the typical statistic. I set a resolution and by like January 16th, I've already given up on it. So I set little miniature goals for myself, little like, how am I going to live up to my word? And like I said, my word this year is transform. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but I've done this for the past several years, although don't ask me what all my words have been because I can't think of them off the top of my head. I know one year my word was believe. I actually have that one tattooed on my foot now as a constant reminder to believe in myself, believe in my children, believe in my wife, believe in others. And when I say believe in others, I really mean believe that they're truly doing the best that they know how. Kind of that assume best intentions. And I phrase it like that because I look at the world around me some days and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? How can these people think like that or do those things or believe what they believe, for lack of a better word? Because some of the things that people that I thought were my friends are so passionate about is literally the opposite or against my very existence. So that year, that was a good word. Believe could totally be a word for me again because I have to believe that others are doing the best they know how. And when you know better, you do better. And I know that's been a huge journey for me, but maybe for you too. Last year, my word was unbreakable. And well, I don't think I'll ever tempt fate like that again because wow, 2023 was a tough one. We'll go ahead and just leave that word right there. And like I said, this year my word is transform. I can't exactly recall how I came to that word. I had Googled something like how to pick your word for the year. And I came across one where you had to like do this little quiz. So I answered some questions, and then it generated a short list of like, I don't know, 12 to 15 words. And it said to choose one that really stood out to me. And the word that popped to me was transform. It just really seems to make sense to me right now, personally, professionally, as a philanthropic leader. Oh boy, do I have some exciting stuff to tell you in a future episode about that. But, well, don't let me get distracted. Transform as a mom, as a partner, as an individual, just all around. It was a good word for me. Recently, I had the opportunity to attend a power hour with my very talented career coach, Danny Vieira. She started her own business last year as Minerva's Legacy, and she had her friend and colleague, Kelly Harris Perrine, doing this power hour session. And we were asked to think about our greatest win for 2023. Initially, I leapt to the more practical, obvious things like being a part of the successful launch of the Blanchard community at my new gig, or celebrating my 5-year wedding anniversary to my beautiful bride, Jen. And then I'm like thinking, remember, like thinking back to what I said earlier, 2023 can go crawl under a rock and hide forever, and I won't miss it. That's because a lot of really crummy stuff happened in 2023. Like, I'm not going to sit here and regale you with the details because they're definitely better left in the past. But another participant started to share and said something that really got me thinking. This individual's greatest win of 2023 was being laid off. Let that sink in for a minute. Wow. Mind blown. I actually had to let it sink in for more than a minute. I had to sit with that one for about 24 hours. Because I remember that day like it was yesterday, even though at the same time it feels like it was like eons ago, because 2023 was the longest year of my life. And then it dawned on me, like, my layoff was almost a year ago to the day. In fact, a year ago tomorrow, really was my biggest win of 2023. You might still be scratching your head because you haven't had as much time as I have to let this sink in. But stick with me for a minute. Because like when I made the jump from classroom to corporate, what was I most scared of? Getting laid off. Like I'm going to sound really like high on my horse here for a minute, but I don't ever think that I have a risk of being fired for doing a crappy job because I'm good at what I do. Even if I don't love it, I'm really good at what I do and I can put out some great stuff, or I'm going to ask the questions to learn and get better at what I don't know, but I never do anything half-heartedly. So my fear of being fired because I was crappy was never a fear. My fear was being laid off because as a teacher, you've got tenure and you're locked in. And so, barring any major faux pas, like you're in it to win it. You're in till the end of education, right? Yeah, layoff. That was a big, scary word. And then it happened to me. And I was like, oh my God. Never did I ever think last year that I would count that as my biggest win from 2023. But I'm here to tell you, A, I survived. And B, just ask me what my greatest win of 2023 was. Oh yeah, you want to know? It definitely was being laid off now that I've had time for that to sink in. I made some of the best friends ever at that job. I learned to believe in myself again at that job. To believe that I knew what I was doing. To believe that I could do these new things. I began my journey to leadership outside the classroom at that job. That was my first job outside of the classroom. We talk about classroom to corporate connections. That was it. I launched huge projects. I accomplished lots of awesome statistics for the resume in that role and at that job. Again, like I wouldn't be where I am today, a space that I love, doing work that I love, with colleagues I adore, making connections that are going to last me a lifetime without having been laid off at the start of 2023. So, as we think about the journey from classroom to corporate, it's totally scary. There's unknowns. It has bumps and bruises. But seriously, what classroom teacher doesn't have bumps and bruises? We'll leave that for another day. But is it worth it? Well, I'll be honest, only you can answer that question. For me, absolutely, 10,000% it was worth it. Now, I'm not sitting here advocating every teacher get up and leave their job because, well, we need teachers. And God bless all of you because we need you. But as you know from listening to my episodes and my journey, I had to make a choice for my own mental health and emotional and physical and psychological well-being. Do I miss the classroom? No, absolutely not. Hard pass. Do I miss the students? Of course. I am so incredibly grateful for the relationships I get to continue to nurture, the families that still connect with me, and I get to see them around town or see them on Facebook and chat with them and see how the kids are doing. Absolutely miss the students. Do I miss the politics of public education today? No. Nope, not at all. Do I wish I could do something to help? Absolutely. So here's my shameless plug. This is my moment of my soapbox. According to a December 14th, 2023, so literally a month and a day old article, it's relevant, in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, fewer than 1/3 of the state of Minnesota school districts have settled their contracts so far this year. Let that sink in. That means 2/3 of the state's school districts are working with unsettled contracts. That means their contract expired last summer, and they are still going to work, showing up for our kids and our communities without an active contract. And 2 of the biggest districts are already in mediation. That's not cool. And this includes the district I used to work in and the district where my wife and I live now. So it's kind of high on the list of things on my mind right now. There is literally no other profession where you would continue going to work 180, 190, 200 days after your contract expired. It wouldn't happen. And then just trust that it'll get settled and it'll be a good agreement and you'll receive your back pay because let me just inform you, they're still getting paid. They're getting paid at the rate they were paid last year. But guess what, folks? Inflation, health insurance costs have gone up. So actually most of their paychecks are their bring home is less than it was last year. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. And when I say you'll receive your back pay, I'm talking about once you negotiate the new raise, the new contract, that difference of what they were getting and what they should have been getting, that's called their back pay. They still have to negotiate that. But right now they're just going to work every day, taking care of our kids and trusting that it's all going to work out. I'll get a new contract. That is not cool. So if you know a teacher, thank a teacher. If your local school district, whether you're in Minnesota or anywhere else in the United States, has not settled a contract, email your local school board. Right now, today. Do it right now. And tell them that as a community member, you expect them to negotiate a fair and equitable contract immediately. Volunteer to speak at an upcoming school board meeting in support of your teachers, providing community pressure to that school board to settle the contract negotiations. This is ridiculous. This should not be happening still. And if you are a teacher, I say thank you. Thank you for stepping in the classroom every single day. Thank you for loving those children like they were your own. Thank you for teaching them. Thank you for caring for them. Thank you for teaching them to have empathy. Thank you for teaching them about inclusion. Thank you for everything you're doing. Well, folks, that's all I've got for today. I promise I kind of fell off the podcast wagon last year. I promise I'll do better this year. I really am going to aim to have a new podcast released every other Wednesday. So please stay tuned. And until next time, take care. And remember, Deborah Messing says, do what makes you happy. And when it doesn't make you happy anymore, make a change without fear.